Alright, here's a trick, something my grandma used to do when she had a pot like this. On a stand like this, she always put a big plastic container underneath to collect that extra water dripping. And then as you can see, every once in a while you throw a weed in there. In here I've got a log that's helping add juice to it, and then there I throw leaves in there, and it all becomes this big fermenty juice sitting underneath of here. And then I just take it and back. And you can use this water right into watering cans for added fertilizer, or you can also take last season's leaves, crunch them all up, put them in a bucket, add a sploosh out of the container, fill it up with more water, just enough so that they all get good and soaked. And then we're going to lay them on our beds around our pumpkins and our sunflowers. You can probably hear Hermes in the background. Let me see. Nope, not enough water. And then you're going to want to let it sit for like 45 minutes to an hour. Get it good and wet and a good splash of that. I might need to go get more water, you guys. Nope, there's enough water in there. See how it, oh, we like it good and wet. Let it sit in there for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna weed the garden, and all around the pumpkin and the sunflowers we're gonna lay this mix, and it's gonna break down, feed it, and help prevent weeds from popping back up. Alright guys, we'll be back. Okay, here we go, you guys. So, we let the mulch sit in that bucket. It ended up being overnight because things came up in life. You know how it is when you've got 2 kids. So, then what I did was I took out handfuls, and she did this to her pumpkins, and if she only had a small patch of sunflowers, and then she was planning on growing peas on those sunflowers, she'd do this to them too. But pumpkins for sure. Then you just take and you circle the pumpkins. You want to be careful to make sure that you don't have actual leaves touching the pumpkins. The sunflowers can have leaves, not necessarily on them, but right up to them. They're not as picky. But the pumpkins you have to be careful with, and make sure that you leave enough room around them. And then she does this with leaves. She did this with grass. She did this with tree clippings. Well, I guess more like bush clippings, because it was purple stuff, purple flowers, not lavender, lilacs, that's what it was. Oh, those lilacs were so horrible. She did it with the tree clippings, or the bush clippings from the lilacs. She'd dry them out and then break them all up and chop them all down and lay them around the pumpkins. And I'll do this about every 2, maybe 3 weeks. I'll do a new pile around all the plants. Look at this, I got tons of pumpkins popping up. I went from having hardly anything coming up to now a bunch. You can see them highlighted now that they've got the clippings around them. I must have 12.5 pumpkin plants popping up. So this is going to be interesting. Plus I have all kinds of onions. This is supposed to be radishes, but the squirrels and the birds were ripping through here, and I don't know what all happened and if they got mixed. There's supposed to be cabbage in here. See? Cabbage. I think that's about the only cabbage I'm going to get. Bunching onions. This is, I believe, lettuce. Yeah, this is supposed to be lettuce. But I don't think it is lettuce. See, the birds were in here messing with everything, and these were supposed to be nice, neat rows that went down. Instead, the seeds got thrown all over the place in here. This is supposed to be radish mix. This is supposed to be radish mix. This is a tree sapling that got away from me. Radish mix, but it's all kinds of stuff now. And then all of the rolls were like this, but the birds tore them up. That's all onions. That's all onions. That's a radish. And this is a tree sapling that got away from me. I got most of the tree saplings up, as you can see right over there. And right over there, I left these are clovers. Bees like clovers. That's a big pile of baby tree saplings I pulled up. These stinky things. And then I throw them in the pile. I think there's a couple of dandelions that were popping up also. But there we have it. That's what my grandma does with mulch, and that water that she collects underneath of her buckets that runs off. That way you're not wasting anything, you're giving good nutrients to stuff, and you're feeding your plants. Now you can do this around anything, but my grandma always did this mostly around her pumpkins and her sunflowers if it was a small enough sunflower patch. Alright guys, thanks for coming along on an impromptu, I don't know what this is, we'll figure out when I title it, video. We'll see you guys in the next one, and remember, stay positive. Bye!